everybody, welcome to a special double feature review of Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy, two hybrid animation live-action basketball movies 25 years apart. Are they a slam dunk, or do they strike out? Find out the answer and why that mixed sports metaphor actually works in my review. Now, to understand Space Jam 1996, you kind of have to understand where Michael Jordan's career was at that time. In 1993, he retired from basketball. He was just coming off a Bulls NBA championship three-peat and the 1992 Dream Team. He was the most famous person on the planet, and for him to quit was unfathomable. But there were a lot of external factors. Exhaustion, lack of desire to play. His father was murdered 3 months earlier, and there were rumors that the retirement was actually a secret suspension due to Jordan's gambling. Nothing was ever proven. But whatever the reason, Jordan, at the height of his powers, took his ball and went home, only to exchange that ball for a smaller ball to go play baseball. And in 1994, he signed with a minor league team, and he became the butt of a lot of jokes. Because people love to cheer for someone at the peak of their success and then celebrate their downfall just as hard, and maybe if they're lucky, they'll get their comeback and then everyone cheers for him again. It's as American as making fun of Britney Spears for publicly melting down and then years later rooting for her to gain independence while pretending like we were on her side all along. Anyway, Jordan went and played baseball, and it was kind of like watching Superman go back to Krypton, and then he just kind of blends in with the rest of the Kryptonians as like a below average guy. He was a god here on Earth. Now everyone is faster, stronger, and can hit a curveball. And then, on March 18th, 1995, Jordan sent out a 2-word press release, "I'm back." And the next day, he was back on the court in the NBA. And the next season, they won the championship on their way to another three-peat. And the finishing touch to his image rehabilitation was the movie Space Jam. Now, there had been a Jordan Looney Tunes movie in the works prior to 1995 based off some Nike Looney Tunes Jordan commercials, but it all came together after his return, and obviously is a much different movie. Ivan Reitman produced because he came up with the idea out of a conversation with a Nike executive, and the director of those Nike commercials, Joe Pytka, was brought on to direct. It's his second and last feature film, and there's a couple other interesting facts about this movie. Spike Lee was very close to doing rewrites on the script, but Warner Brothers was still mad at him for raising outside funds for Malcolm X, and now I really want to see Spike Lee's Space Jam. That would have been awesome. Also, Reitman went to Robert Zemeckis for advice on how to marry live action and animation, because Zemeckis did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Zemeckis told him, "Don't do it, it nearly killed me." But Zemeckis didn't realize that this wasn't a movie they were making. It was an extended commercial. A commercial for Looney Tunes, a commercial for Nike, for Wheaties, and most importantly, the Michael Jordan brand itself. This does a lot of work to reframe Jordan's legacy with a little self-awareness, a dash of revisionist history, and a lot of hero worship. Space Jam opens in the summer of 1973 with a young Michael Jordan practicing basketball in the middle of the night, set to era-appropriate R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly." I don't know. But what I didn't realize about this movie is the first half plays out like a mini Michael Jordan biopic. His dad comes out as Jordan's practicing, and Michael Jordan literally lays out his entire life's dream. He wants to play basketball at North Carolina, then go to the NBA, win some championships, and when he's done, go play baseball just like his dad. See, everyone? That was his plan all along. He wasn't gambling. The opening credits montage shows basically his entire career, and then after the credits, we go right to Jordan announcing his retirement, and then we leave Earth, we head to space, to Moron Mountain, where Danny DeVito voices an alien who wants to appease his bored son with a new attraction at his theme park. So he somehow makes the incredible leap of logic to capture the Looney Tunes. But the aliens he sends to get the job done get duped by Bugs Bunny into playing a game of basketball with the Tunes' freedom on the line. Why did they pick basketball? The aliens are short. But there's only one problem. Bugs and the Tunes also have no basketball skills. That is so loony. So they have to recruit Michael Jordan while he's gambling on the golf course with Larry Bird and Bill Murray. Okay, sure. Yeah, I don't know. Meanwhile, the aliens steal the talents of other top NBA players, including Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing, and then they play basketball for 40 minutes. The end. Yeah, it's weird. It's literally like they start announcing the starting lineup. I had to pause the movie and go, I'm sorry, how far into this are we? There's still 40 minutes? Wow. Okay. Well, there's some things I can talk about. There's a subplot involving fear that a virus is taking over the NBA and could spread to the rest of the world. They shut down the forum. They shut down the NBA season. The basketball players put on gas masks. And for a second, Space Jam, you got a little too real on me. I was not expecting that. And as weird as it sounds, I actually found that this has a lot in common with another 1996 movie, Scream. Yeah, didn't see that coming, did you? Both are meta-examinations of their subject. Scream deconstructs horror, and Space Jam deconstructs Jordan's decision to play baseball. They don't mention his father's death, but it's heavily implied from the opening scene that his dad was the reason he went to play ball. Now, they show Jordan in the minors getting preferential treatment, even by the opposing team's catcher. They show that he was coddled and treated like a celebrity and not appreciated for his talents on the field. But they also touch on the world's reaction at large. Jordan watches Jim Rome on TV telling Jordan to hang up his glove, and I was actually surprised, considering how violently competitive Michael Jordan is, that he allowed the movie to poke fun at him. It's only possible because Jordan had already made his triumphant return to basketball. But that first half hour with Jordan is kind of endearing. Like, as an actor, he's... Look, I've seen The Last Dance. I just mentioned it. We know Michael Jordan is very competitive, very vindictive. He takes it personally.
It became personal with me.
So let me just say, Michael Jordan is a fantastic actor and a great basketball player and a genius basketball owner and an underrated baseball player, the best gambler, a great golfer, a perfect human being, and a great guy. Is he gone? Okay, honestly, he does acquit himself pretty well when acting opposite humans. He's not that bad, but boy, there is a shift when he enters the animated world, and I get it. It's tough acting opposite whatever this is. And actually watching this now, I think the Looney Tunes fare worse than Jordan. Now, the Looney Tunes at the time, it's not like they were the coolest thing. This actually really helped their reputation. I mean, you want to know how cool they were at the time? This was my high school marching band jacket. Front, cool skull, awesome. Yeah. Here's the back. But yeah, there you go. I wore it once, I got made fun of, and never wore it again. So thanks, Looney Tunes. Now, anytime they try to mimic the classic cartoons, that stuff all works. But the rest of the humor tries to be, I don't even know if it's edgy, but it's like weirdly on the nose. At one point, the Monstars scare Porky Pig, and he simply just announces, "I wet myself." Well, never mind, he's not even wearing pants, but like, they don't even try to be clever with it. He's literally just like, "I wet myself." And then when sexy, sexy Lola Bunny shows up, Tweety just says, "Ooh, she's hot." That's it. Just, "Ooh, she's hot."
Ooh, she's hot.
No double entendre. That's it. I was not prepared for these tunes to be so horny.
Ooh.
There's even a sexual performance joke directed at Patrick Ewing, and it's weird for a kid's movie. Also weird for a kid's movie, I had trouble discerning any real message. There's no major story arc here. Jordan just gets pulled into Looney Tune land, gets called a chicken, and then goes, "I'm going to play you in basketball."
It became personal with me.
It seems like the obvious way to go would be to have an arc about Jordan losing his love for the game, but being forced back into it to save the tunes and remembering the joy of basketball. And maybe some of that is inferred in this, but you really, really have to work to find that. A monster takes a shot at his ego, and that's what motivates him. And maybe that's the truthful answer. Maybe that's the too truthful answer, actually. I mean, if you heard his Hall of Fame speech, it was just him talking about all the people who disparaged him and then all the ways that he got back at them. Yeah, the Looney Tunes game has nothing to do with his decision to return to the NBA at the end of the movie. Do you know what does it? After he gives Barkley and the crew their powers back, Barkley and Ewing gently chide Michael about maybe not being able to still hang in the NBA. And he's like,
It became personal with me.
and that's it. So I guess the moral of the story is, don't joke with Jordan, or he will make it his life's mission to destroy you. I love you, Michael. You're the best. There's also a cursed image in this movie that will forever haunt my dreams, nightmares, and also every waking moment of my life. And that is Flat Newman. Whoa, Uncanny Valley. This is such a strange artifact of the 90s, including the fact that the original website is still up and running and hasn't been updated since 96. But it was a big hit, and I didn't see it when I was younger because I was a little older than the age range. And I get it. Like, watching it now, I understand why people like it. It's not a good movie. It's a commercial. But it is a shock that they never got a sequel off the ground in the past 25 years. Not for lack of trying. They got close to a direct sequel in the 90s, but Jordan turned it down because he's like, I got everything I needed out of it. Then they changed directions and sports. They tried one with Tiger Woods. They tried Skate Jam with Tony Hawk and Race Jam with Jeff Gordon. Then in 2014, our favorite Fast and Furious franchise director, Justin Lin, was attached to direct LeBron James in the sequel, but Lin left the project. He was then replaced by Malcolm D. Lee, who gave us Undercover Brother, Girls Trip, Scary Movie 5, Roll Bounce. You know, some hits, some misses. And now he's giving us Space Jam, A New Legacy. So let's talk Space Jam, A New Legacy. It has a lot of echoes of the original. It opens with LeBron James as a kid, just like in the original Space Jam. This time it's 1998. And unlike Jordan, it actually has an era-appropriate tune. And also unlike Jordan, LeBron is not as motivated to play basketball. He wants to sit and play video games. Specifically, the Looney Tunes Game Boy video game in 1998. But as we all know, video games are bad for you, and LeBron misses the game-winning shot. So his coach puts a stop to that, tells him he could be the best if he just stops playing Game Boy. And now I'm wishing maybe somebody could have told me that. I would be the NBA right now. I would not. I was in the marching band, as you can see. Then we go to the opening credits, which also mirror the original by taking us through LeBron's entire career. Cut to present day, and now LeBron is super serious, pushing his kids to practice basketball, even though one of them wants to make video games, specifically an NBA Jam knockoff. He should have been making a new Looney Tunes game. Anyway, LeBron preaches that you can't be great without putting in the work. But his family wonders, what about having fun? Did you ever have fun? And it basically spells out exactly what the original Space Jam was trying to say, but didn't actually execute. We're then taken to Warner Brothers Studio, where we discover the studio's creative ideas all come from a supercomputer algorithm, which is a really weird cell phone. The serververse, as it's called, is represented by Don Cheadle as Al G. Rhythm. And I actually am a big fan of puns, and I like that name. LeBron is brought in for a pitch meeting to be a part of this algorithm, and LeBron recognizes that an algorithm coming up with creative ideas is very bad, so he says no, and that makes Don Cheadle very mad, and he says no. He's going to steal LeBron and his son, and he challenges him to a game of basketball, which will somehow give Don Cheadle the recognition he deserves. And if LeBron loses, his son will be trapped in the serververse forever. For some reason, again, a lot of this is for some reason. For some reason, LeBron gets sent to Toonland to meet a deranged, insane Bugs Bunny, whose friends were all convinced to, for some reason, go be in other Warner Brothers movies. It's a stretch, but before you can think about it for too long, we're hopping from one IP to another. However, unlike a movie like Wreck-It Ralph, where the references mostly make sense in context, Space Jam: A New Legacy is completely random, based on whatever properties Warner Brothers owns. Casablanca, Game of Thrones, Austin Powers, MC Hammer, Wizard of Oz, Training Day, The Matrix. There are 2 bullet time gags in this movie for Neo's sake. Most of these references are 10, 20, 30, 70, 82 years old. And a lot of them are R-rated. Who is this made for? Is it for me? If it's for the children, I doubt any of them will get the Mad Max Fury Road sequence, which was actually one of the better ones because the Looney Tunes they used matched the environment. But for the most part, there was no narrative drive or creative purpose to any of it, just references. Like an extended episode of Family Guy, but I can't believe I'm saying this, with fewer punchlines. Eventually, they get their Looney Tunes team together, and then, with 45 minutes left in the movie, the game starts. Now, because this one has a father-son dynamic, there's actually more to the game than the original Space Jam. It's still a long time, but if you're bored, you can distract yourself by seeing what weird-ass characters they put in the crowd, like The Mask, or Gremlins, or Pennywise the child-murdering clown. And I honestly never thought a Space Jam movie would force me to explain the plot of Clockwork Orange to my 4-year-old daughter, but here we are. There is one big inspired gag cameo that actually makes narrative sense, and that cameo even has a second layer of meta reference when they quote a show they starred in. It's easily my favorite joke, and it's not even a Warner Brothers property. I also like that they recognize the original movie's strength was whenever it was self-aware of its star's image. It's fun to know LeBron is in on the joke, and they get some good shots in on him. And Don Cheadle's having fun hamming it up as the villain. He totally works. Also, the Looney Tunes are much better in this than the original. Less horny, too, which is also good. When it comes to LeBron, he was a surprise highlight of Judd Apatow's train wreck, but he doesn't really get to display those comedic chops until late in the game, literally. He starts the movie extremely serious, and I understand you need that for the character to have an arc, but it's a shame he didn't get to let loose a little bit more. There's even a little gag where he's like excited, he's starstruck to see the Looney Tunes, and that's a lot of fun. I just wish there was a little bit more of it, because once he learns to have fun in the game, his performance picks up. And I think by tying the basketball game to LeBron's relationship to his son, they wring a lot more out of the premise than the original. There's more heart and purpose to this than Space Jam 96, and I'm always intrigued by the idea of a son or daughter of an incredibly famous person trying to figure out how they carve their own path. Like, do you follow in your famous parents' footsteps, which is a nearly impossible task? Or do you try and strike out on your own and follow your own dreams? Can you ever step out of their shadow? They touch on that a little bit here. Not to the point of, like, it's a super serious drama, but at one point LeBron's son tells him, "You make me hate basketball," which is a line that should resonate with anyone who had a parent force a sport on them. I'm not pointing to myself. Again, these are drumsticks. Unfortunately, a lot of that gets lost in the shuffle of WBIP references, but there is a nice payoff at the end. I know it's easy to be mad at Space Jam: A New Legacy for feeling like yet another commercial, but you knew that going in, right? So I don't know how mad we can really be. The first one's a commercial, this one's a commercial. Do any of these Warner Brothers movie references add to the story? No, of course not. Do they add any comedic value? Very little. It's hard to avoid the pure cynicism of the brand synergy. You can't overlook that. If anything, the movie is set up to be loaded with video game references, since video games are at the core of the story, not random movies. But we already have 2 Wreck-It Ralph, so you can't do that. Would the references have made more sense if his son wanted to be a filmmaker, and the basketball game was his son recruiting a better basketball team of classic film characters? Probably. But this is what the algorithm spit up, and the 6 screenwriters tried their best to make it work. Now, can we go back to movies written by humans, please? So what did you think of either Space Jam? Do you have nostalgia for the original? Is it enough goodwill to catch the new one? Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy are both on HBO Max. You know what else is on HBO Max? King Kong, and Austin Powers, and Game of Thrones, and Casablanca, and Training Day, and The Matrix, and A Clockwork Orange, and It, and Wizard of Oz, and...